Hi everyone, Bernard here and I hope you're all staying safe and well. Welcome to my latest Citizen channel feature. Please, if you are new to the channel, push that subscribe button and push the bell notifications as well so you know when these vlogs are coming out, and of course do lots of stuff City past and City present, so please push that notification button. Make sure your notification is set to public as well, don't forget, otherwise you won't get to know, but press that subscribe button. Please check out my links on screen as well for Facebook and Twitter, and also don't forget I've got a little film and TV channel on YouTube as well, so if you want to have a little break from football, check that out. And of course on Facebook and Twitter I will check every few days and follow and friend everyone back on there. And also don't forget I'll have a sort of links with Losing Business on Twitter. They promote City fan related small businesses, local businesses which need our help perhaps more than ever these days, don't they? So please don't hesitate to get in touch with me if I can promote or put some stuff out for you on one of my magazine vlogs, my City magazine vlogs. And don't forget, I'll always give a shout out to local projects or charities, etc, etc. Just get in touch. Anyway, please enjoy today's Citizen channel feature. Thank you. Today we're gonna continue our look at the player of the years, aren't we? So we're going to look at the player of the year for 19 supporters clubs player of the year for the 1985-86 season. A certain gentleman. The clues are in the images there. Some great stuff from his scrapbook. There'll be some stuff on screen as well, but an action picture, not the greatest sort of clearest picture there on a City programme. That's not par for the course sometimes when we're doing these programmes, but you'd think by 1985 we would have improved the quality a little bit, but it wasn't the greatest sort of rendition or sort of image in there as far as clarity was concerned. But there you go, this is City, isn't it? But we're going to talk about the player of the year, this not City's programmes. Kenny Clements for 1985-86. So we'll leap to that year. His first game was back. This was back in his second spell. Don't forget, City was March the 9th, 1985. At that time, City sat top, proudly top of the Canon League Division 2, and he came back initially on loan from Oldham to the end of the season with an option, obviously, for City to actually take him back on. And he did slot back. He slot back in at number 2. Andy May had actually been playing there and been playing Mr. Versatility, Andy May, wasn't he? I mean, we had Ian Brightwell, didn't I remember, at similar times. But Andy May was sort of being played on various positions, but he'd been playing at number 2. So Kenny Clements slotted back in at number 2, which is his regular position when he played for City before. Although obviously for Oldham, he'd actually been playing as a centre half, which obviously did come in useful for City as well, as we'd see in this little feature. And Kenny Clements admitted to almost crying at the warm welcome he got from the 22,000 plus fans inside Main Road that day. His reward on the pitch, though, was a broken nose and a painful knee, as some studs were gouged across his knee during the game. But he'd be okay for the next game. They made him a strong stuff in those days, and certainly Kenny Clements. But very emotional for Kenny. He did admit that as he ran and got the applause from the City fans, he sort of turned round and tried to sort of blink the tears away because it was quite emotional for him. So that was fantastic. I'm sure I was there that day, absolutely. And it was good to see Kenny Clements back, one of the old guard that perhaps was there with Malcolm, wasn't he? And obviously it didn't quite work out then, as a lot of players with Malcolm didn't quite work out, did it? City were top when Kenny came in, of course, but in the end we were promoted on the last day in third spot on goal difference. So I'm not going to make any link whatsoever with the fact of Kenny coming back and that, but he did admit himself he'd struggled just a little bit getting really used to the sort of pace of obviously a City team going for promotion, heading the league, etc., and obviously all the things that come with that. And obviously he was fitting back into a right back slot, which he hadn't played for a while. As I said, he'd been playing centre back for Oldham, so he did admit it was a bit of a struggle, but he scored his first and only goal for City in that little handful few games at the end of that season, with a goal against Sheffield United in early April. And of course we took up the option, didn't we? We were happy enough, and Billy McNeil was happy enough to take him on for the 85-86 season, which is the season we're going to look at now, where he did really well. Obviously, his previous top flight experience obviously would come to the fore, and the fact he got them few games under his belt, about 10 or 11 games in the 84-85 season would certainly help. And he did start the season again. Well, he had to start as a centre back. Yeah, we weren't going to use him as a number 2. We had a new signing called Nigel Johnson. Yeah, not overly familiar to me, I must admit, but yeah, he'd been ill or injured, and he sort of, Kenny Clements just slotted in at number 4, and of course, in the first 7 games of that season, the 85-86 season, City had a star man on the stats sheet. They have a sheet of all the stats and the players, and he was actually City's star man in 3 of those first 7 games. An away win at West Bromwich Albion 3-2, but sadly two other away games at Birmingham and Southampton where we were beaten. But yeah, he was centre back partner that for those games. Of course, was the wonderful, fantastic. It certainly would have helped Kenny Clements. That was Mick McCarthy, of course, a big unit there at the back. He was also a little bit temperamental, but he's a centre half. He's going to get stuck in, isn't he? He was booked also 3 times in those first 8 games. That was going to come back and sort of bite him and City on the bum a bit later in the season, including a 3-0 derby loss, of course, at Main Road. A very depressing game that was on the 14th of September at Main Road. A horrible history in itself. So his commitment to the cause and getting these bookings, he was always at it. You know, he was keen to fight for the blue shirt. But he was playing with great confidence, despite in the first 8 league games, we'd literally just won 2, drawn 2, and lost 8. But lost 4. But he was playing really well. By the visit Liverpool, who sat second on Boxing Day of the 85-86 season, City were sat a little bit uncomfortably in 16th place after 22 games. So not great. And this is a 22-team league, don't forget, at the stage. So it wasn't too bad, but say we weren't overly points-wise. We didn't have much of a cushion. He picked up another Starman performance in yet another loss, a 1-0 away at Highbury, Arsenal in November. Unfortunately, I'd only added another couple of bookings, but they were still mounting up generally over the season. McCarthy and Clements, of course, kept Liverpool out that day in a very rare, for the time, 1-0 victory for City at Main Road. And then in January, Kenny took 2 consecutive Starman ratings. Yeah, his star was rising, wasn't it, in 2 victories, an FA Cup win at Walsall, you remember that, 3-1 win there, and a 1-0 home win against Southampton the following week. And, of course, we'd also won through to Wembley. Yes, all right, it was only the full Members' Cup final, wasn't it? But it was going to be a chance for Kenny to feature after missing through injury the 1976 League Cup final with, of course, Newcastle United. By February, all things were looking bright. Yeah, I mean, Kenny was on a bit of a roll, and City had begun to slowly climb the league away from that relegation zone. But those early bookings had resulted in Kenny missing a couple of games. He got a 2-match FA ban just when everything was going pretty well for him and Mick McCarthy. They're doing a great job. I mean, the first game of his suspension was a 2-0 win versus Queen's Park Rangers on February the 8th of 1986. And this would actually be the last game City would win that season, as it all sort of started to fall apart again. Fortunately, we'd amassed a few points by that stage, so it wasn't going to be a total disaster, fortunately. But yeah, it all seemed to go wrong. And it did coincide with it going wrong, of course, for Kenny Clements as well. Of course, Redmond had stepped into cover during this 2-match suspension to Kenny. So obviously Steve Redmond, only 18 at the time, quite a raw talent, but obviously he'd stepped in alongside Mick McCarthy. And of course, he came back as soon as he could. As soon as the 2-game suspension was over, Kenny Clements came back into the team straight away and played in another 3 defeats in March. Another Starman performance in another defeat, but at Chelsea in a 1-0 defeat there. And of course, it led up to the Old Trafford derby, didn't it? Just a day before the full Members' Cup. No surprise there. Don't do us any favours, do they? Let's be honest about it. They didn't then, and they don't do now, do they? The FA, etc. Just a day before the full Members' Cup final at Wembley, and obviously it spelt disaster, didn't it? Sort of spelt mini disaster for City, and certainly big disaster for Kenny Clements because he suffered a knee ligament injury in that game. would have to come off, and of course his chances of playing at Wembley again were in tatters. I mean, again, he'd lost that opportunity, and also he'd lost the opportunity because that was the end of his season as well. The ligament trouble was that bad; it just saw him out for the rest of the season. And of course, as we know, as I stated before, City did sort of struggle as well. Although Steve Redmond stepped in back alongside McCarthy, and they were. Hey, he was only a young lad, wasn't he? And he obviously learnt a lot while he was there. But obviously that partnership of Clements and McCarthy had been pretty solid for most of the season. Fortunately, we had the arrival of Luton, the last game of the season, but very fortunately, it wasn't as bad as that. Obviously, that game, how many years before? 12 years before, was it? That obviously we were safe. We were safe by that stage. I mean, we did draw with Luton that day, but this day, but. Yeah, City were okay. We'd amassed enough points in January, February to keep us out of trouble there before that poor run at the end of the season. But in Billy McNeil's 1985-86 verdict, obviously he was gushing. He was gushing about Kenny, who obviously was sadly missing by then, obviously. But he went on to say in this 1985-86 verdict, this is Billy McNeil. An outstanding performer has unquestionably been Kenny Clements, maintaining a high level of form from the outset. It was a savage blow when he was taken off against United with a knee ligament injury, which cost him a place he wanted so badly in the full Members' Cup final. Has been a big loss to the defence for the rest of the season. Kenny coped with all the top-line strikers, and I note that he took the team star award on 7 occasions. Yeah, he got it 7 times. There must have been many more matches when he was only just pipped for the honour. So there you go. Summary, short and brief, but it sort of tells us all about it, doesn't it, there? And so despite missing the last 8 games of the season, 3 draws and 5 losses, so not fantastic. As with the thoughts of Billy McNeil, us, the fans thought the same as well, and obviously the fans of the supporters clubs had seen enough to give Kenny Clements the Supporters Player of the Year award for the 85-86 season. Say, despite the fact he didn't play for the last few games. I mean, his starman performance is commented upon there. I mean, there was plenty of games where he put in a great performance, but someone might have just edged it more than him. But his consistency was excellent throughout the season. And let's face it, a very mixed season for City. We did struggle, and obviously they came under a lot of pressure in defence. And he and McCarthy, I think McCarthy ended up without 4 starman ratings for that season, but. There's no doubt he thrived playing alongside McCarthy, and they did a pretty good job at the back there. And I think most City fans appreciated that. It didn't really matter. He'd missed those last few games. He was already considered as the sort of player of the year by all the City fans at the time, and I think myself included. And don't forget, he was brought in as a number 2. He wasn't particularly brought in as a centre-back, so he sort of more than proved his worth. So there you go. Kenny Clements, yeah, the former Stretford ender. Yeah, he was asked in later life about who he supported. He just said Manchester because he used to stand on the Stretford end as a kid. But there you go. We won't hold that against him, really. And obviously we didn't, did we? Because we gave him that Player of the Year award. But he was accepted as a Blue, and that's all there is to it. A worthy winner of the 85-86 Supporters Club Player of the Season award, Mr. Kenny Clements. Join me next time as we look back at another fan's favourite. Thanks for watching. What are you going to do rest of the day? Have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. More importantly, let's all look after each other till we meet here again on the Citizen channel. Or perhaps have a flit across, have a look at my film and TV channel. I only ask one thing of you. Stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.